So we did the exponential graphs first. Remember the swoopies? Okay. Then last class, I just taught you what a logarithm is. We just got used to the format of it. The purpose of a log is that it equals the exponent. We talked about all of that. Today, we're going to do the graphs. I don't teach it together because it's just too much, so I spread it out across 2 days. You cannot log a negative value. The exponential is the swoop. The logarithm, you take the swoop and you turn it on its side, so you don't end up with a domain of everything. So just remember, you cannot log a negative number. You also cannot have a negative base. Remember that? No negative base, okay? So for these first two, we're just going to practice finding domain. You can't log a negative. So all you do is you take the part that's inside the logarithm. You don't need any of the rest of it, just that part that's inside. And that can't be negative. So we're going to set it bigger than 0. Not equal to, remember, there's no equal tos and there's no brackets anywhere in this unit because all the graphs have asymptotes in them. So it's nice. You don't have to worry about it. There just aren't any of that. But you're going to take that, set it bigger than 0, and then solve. What would you do to both sides? Yep. -2, we want to stay bigger than -2. And so when you write that in your interval, it's -2 to infinity. You want -2 and above. All right, so for this one, ln is a logarithm with a base of what? What's your base for e? About how much is the number e? 2.7. As long as you know it's a number, I'm happy. And if you know it's about 2.7, I'm really happy. All right, you're going to take the part that's inside of there and you're going to set it bigger than 0. You can't log, or ln, which is a type of log, a negative number. I basically threw this on here for us to review our number lines. This is our number line question. So you're going to make a number line for your x plus 3 and a number line for your x. And we're going to put where the changes happen. And then we're going to put in all of our pluses and minuses. Okay. So where does x plus 3 have a change? Yeah, -3. And then just plain x is going to have a change 0. Good job. Now, if nothing weird happened and nothing's squared, there's not a negative, nothing's backwards. Do you remember how we can fill them in? Yep, negative and then turn positive. So negative up until the change and then turn positive. And you're going to draw your little balloon strings, as I call them, and figure out what the overall sign is for the whole thing, which usually it alternates if nothing weird happened. And so how is this one going to go? Yep, positive, negative, positive. You want the positive sections because greater than 0. And no brackets, you don't even have to worry about it. So it's -infinity to where? To -3, that's this first section. Union 0 to infinity. So again, the whole point of these two questions is you can't log a negative number. Your domain is not all reals. That's the point that I'm trying to get across. Real okay? Right. Sorry, I'm not sick. I'm so cold that my nose is running. Not sick, just cold. All right, in this little space down here, I'm going to go over the differences between exponential and logarithmic graphs because the exponentials went great. It was super easy, and it still is. I'm not changing that. When you add in the new one, it's like, one of them's one way and one of them's the other way, and you have to keep it separate in your head. So here's my little trick. If you come up with something better, a better trick, please let me know. I get all my good tricks from my students, all right? Exponential. Do you see how the letter E has 3 horizontal lines in it? Do you see that? All right, so exponential has the horizontal asymptote. Now write the word log. Do you see how the letter L in log is literally a vertical line? Logarithmic has the vertical asymptote. I guess I don't know. However you want to abbreviate this. Does that help at all? If you come up with something better, I would love to hear it. That's all I've got. But that's pretty good. I mean, the letter L is a vertical line. Log has the vertical asymptote. Exponential has the horizontal asymptote. For domain and range, I don't have a better way than to just memorize this. For exponential, your domain is all reals. So for logarithmic, your range is all reals. And so you want to do your automatic things first. So those are your automatic things, or your domain range, whichever one it is you're looking at, and then your horizontal or vertical asymptote. I wish I had the problems in a different order. Question 3 is actually kind of hard, so I'm going to start with question 4 because I don't want to terrify everybody. We're going to start with the easier one. For log graphs, your range is all reals. It's an automatic answer. Also, and listen to me on this one. That means one side goes up and the other side goes down. So when we get to our end behavior, one side is going to be positive infinity and the other side is going to be negative infinity. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, because your range is all reals. And then we're going to do either vertical or horizontal asymptote. This one has vertical. It's usually 0 in the center unless you shifted left or right. So did this shift left or right? Yeah, it went left 1. So your vertical asymptote x equals -1. Horizontal is none. So those are your automatic things. Okay. Then we're going to make, or actually, let me go ahead and dot that in at -1. And then we're going to make a table is what I was about to say. Now you can't plug anything you want in for x because the domain isn't going to be everything. But you want to look at where the asymptote is and pick a number near it. So if this is at -1, what might be a good number to try? 0. And if you try something that doesn't work, all you do is pick something else. It's not that big of a deal. Okay, so let's try and plug in 0. 0 plus 1. 1. Now, I'm going to write this off to the side, but I want you to get to the point where you can do this without having to write anything down because it's going to take you forever if you have to write this down for every single one. But if you plug in 0, 0 plus 1 is 1. And now what you've got is this. It's exactly like your Quizlet game. What's that going to equal? 0. Why is it 0? Because that is correct. 2 to the 0 power equals 1. And this is actually really nice. This is why I did this problem first. Because if you have 0, 0, what can you put on your list of information over here? Like, what can you automatically fill in? Yeah, x and y are both 0, 0, which makes the problem a lot easier. That's why I wanted to start with this one. All right, now let's try another number. We just did 0. Now what do you want to try? 1. Let's try 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. And again, I want you to get to the point where you don't have to write this, so you can kind of do it in your mind. But this is just like your Quizlet game. Log base 2 of 2, 1. Because 2 to the first is 2. All right, so we got 1, 1. I would like one more point. Let's try 2 just so I can show it to everybody. If you plug in 2, 2 plus 1 is 3, and you end up with this, which is not going to, I mean, it's some number just without a calculator. I don't know what it is because it's going to be a weird decimal. This is 2 to what power gives you 3? I mean, it's something. Do you know what I'm saying? But I don't know what it is. So let's not try that. What number do we want to plug in? 3 is a good one because if you plug in 3, 3 plus 1, 4, now you've got log base 2 of 4. What is that going to be? 2. I want to see if you can come up with one more because these are small enough numbers. There is one more that'll fit on the grid. Can you come up with another number to plug in? 7 is correct. 7 plus 1. Oh, that's the answer, but let me get everybody there. 7 plus 1 is 8. So you have this. Why is the answer 3? Because that is correct. 2 to the third is 8. Okay, so let's go ahead and plot those, and you get a sideways kind of swoop. So it's going to look like this. So if you turn your head, it looks like an exponential. And then you just use that picture to answer all the rest of the questions. Domain is not all reals. There's no graph over here, okay? So sweeping left to right, it would be what to what? Yep, -1 to infinity. Now you're going to copy that domain over for one or the other of these. One of them is going to say none. We are increasing. So you copy over that domain for increasing. Decreasing is none. And then your end behavior. This is going to be new to you. So listen, you're going to do limit as x goes to not negative infinity. Why can I not put a negative infinity? There's nothing. It stops. Where are you fenced in? Okay, watch how we write it. You put limit x goes to -1, bless you, and we put a little plus sign there. What that means is we're approaching -1 from the positive side. It's -1 from the right. Do you see that? -1 from the right of the function equals. Okay, hold on. We'll answer that in a second. So that should have been negative infinity, but we couldn't do that because we're fenced in. The other one is still positive infinity. You can go to the right. So that one makes sense. So you're still doing your left and right ends. It's just your left end got fenced in a little bit. Is that sitting well for everybody? It's new to you. New things are, sometimes confusing. Go ahead.
So how does it expect not?
Well, I didn't put the answer yet. You're ahead of me. Hold on one second. All right, so where does our left arrow go? Yeah, down. So we're going to put negative infinity. And then our right arrow, I know it's not like in a super big hurry. It's not super dramatic, but it is going up. So positive infinity. Again, one should be up and one should be down because your range is everything. If you were like, hey, that was a little shaky for me. That's why I don't do one example and then say, see ya. We're going to do a few more. Let's go back and do number 3. And then we'll do our halfway break if you're like, I need a break. Okay. But I'd like to get through one more. What's an automatic thing I can go ahead and fill in? Yeah, range. Cool. You guys are listening to me. That's perfect. Vertical asymptote. Now, typically it's x equals 0 unless you shifted left or right. So we shifted 2 to the right. So it's going to be x equals 2. Horizontal is none. And you can dot that in. You should always get at least 2 answers that are none. One would be either the vertical or horizontal asymptote, and the other would be either the increasing or decreasing. You're always going to have 2 answers at least that are none for these. All right, so we're going to make a table. And remember, not every number is going to work. If we get something that doesn't work, we will simply try something else. And I will do one more where I write it off to the side, but after that, I want us to try and do this in our head, okay? I want us to try and get there. Now your asymptote is at 2. So you want to start with a number close to 2. So like 3 is a good choice to start with. So let's go ahead and see. 3 minus 2 is 1. So this is what we're looking at. What does that equal? It's like your Quizlet game. 0. Good. Plus 3 is 3. I feel like I lost some of you. Can we do that again? You guys all look up here. Focus. 3 minus 2 is 1. So I wrote it out for you. This equals 0. Plus 3 is 3. All right, let's try another number. Think through. You want to find one that's going to turn out nice. Which one? We're going to try 7. 7 minus 2. 5. So what you end up with is this. So 7 was really close. I'm going to try 6. That was a very good guess. It got us really close. Let's try 6. So look at 6 minus 2, 4. So you have this. So that's 1 plus 3 is 4. As a heads up, the next one's going to be off the grid, but I want to see if you can come up with it. It's going to go a ways out. Can anyone try and come up with it? It's not 12. It is going to be 18. Let's work through it. Look, 18 minus 2 is 16. So what you have is this. That's 2. 4 squared is 16. So that's 2 plus 3 is 5. The reason it went so far off the grid is because your base number is 4. Anything above 2 or 3, it starts to get large very, very quickly. All right, so let's plot those 3, 3, 6, 4. You're not going to be able to plot 18, 5. That's going to be like way over here somewhere. And once you get your picture, you just use it to answer everything else. And again, because if you're like, oh, this is hard. First of all, congratulations. That means you're a normal person. Secondly, if all of your information matches your graph, you get credit for it. So yeah, the material is difficult, but it's graded in a very forgiving way. Right? What do you think for domain? 2 to infinity. We're going to come back to this. I'm going to save that for the end because it's hard. All right. How about y-intercept? None. None is a valid answer. It doesn't hit the y-axis, so there just isn't one. Are we increasing or decreasing? You're increasing, so you're going to copy that domain over. And then let's go and get the end behavior. I'll come back to the x-intercept because we're going to have to actually do some work for that. Okay. End behavior. You can't go to negative infinity because the graph doesn't go over there. So it's going to be limit as x goes to where? 2 with a little plus sign to show you're going from the right, from the positive side. F of x. Hold on, because some of you are getting ahead of me. And then limit x goes to positive infinity of the function. So just instead of negative infinity, you have 2 because you're fenced in there. Now, one of these should be up and one of them should be down. Where's your left arrow? Yep, negative infinity, and your right arrow, positive infinity. Again, one should go up and one should go down because your range is everything. Now we have some space off to the side here. You have an x-intercept. It's going to be a fraction. Okay, but we're going to get an answer. We're going to be able to do it. You want it to be something 0. So what you're going to do is take this entire equation and set it equal to 0. We're going to have 3 steps of work. I know. You can do it. I promise. Like, oh, work. It'll be okay. What would you do to both sides first to start trying to solve that? Yeah, -3. And then you're stuck. I want to see if anyone remembers this. When you get stuck, and it's not an if, it's a when, you're going to get stuck. The question that gets you unstuck is what? What is the base? Do you remember Megan Trainor? Your base is not 10. It is 4. Do you see 4 right there? So it's 4 to the power -3. Focus. Don't just sit there and go, I'm not getting it. I'm going to explain it to you. 4 to the power -3 equals x minus 2. Remember how last class we just practiced writing it in the other format? Now, what is 4 to the -3? This is like your Quizlet game. Good. I'm going to erase that and put 1/64. Now you have one more step. Do not write this. I understand that what you want to do is add 2, but that doesn't help you. You need a common. Okay, so I need it to be 64ths. You went the wrong direction, but that's the correct place for your brain to be. Good. How did he get 128? Because that is correct. Good. That's how my brain does it. 128 divided by 64 equals 2. What's the other way you could think of it in your mind? Yeah, 64 times 2 is 128. Anyway, add those together and you get 129/64. How'd I get 129? Added 1. Okay. And don't discriminate. 129/64 is a great answer because it's the right answer. Okay. So sometimes you have to do some work is my pep talk. You will all be okay. I sincerely promise you. So these last two are the same as what we just did, except because it's ln, what does that mean the base number is? E. So instead of 3 points, you are only going to get 1. The only one you can do without a calculator is e to the 0 power because e to the 0 power is 1. So listen, you got to come with me on this. So I don't have to explain this over and over and over again. If e to the 0 power equals 1, that means ln of 1 equals 0. Do you see how they are switched? Because they're inverses. I'm pretty sure I have this on the Quizlet thing. Isn't that one that you come across when you're doing your Quizlet? ln of 1 is 0. Well, whenever you see a 1 there, it's 0. Anything to the 0 power gives you 1. Go ahead. I don't want to, yes, but I don't want to graph a 2.7 like at decimal. So like technically yes, but I just don't want to. So you can if you want. But anyway, ln of 1, actually, you know what? Let's write that in our notes. These are your notes and they're for you. So let's write that. ln of 1 equals 0. That's one that you got to know. E to the 0 power is 1. That's what that means. All right. So let's fill in our automatic stuff. What is an automatic thing? Range, everything. Vertical is x equals, did it move left or right? Yep, -4, very good. And then this is none. So you're gonna dot that in at -4. So next class, we're gonna do a quiz review. And then the following class will be your quiz on your graphs. And if you guys don't mind listening to me, I'll say something else about that. Because this unit is very long, what I do to help you out, and again, all the decisions I make are intended to help you, we quiz on the graphs, and then I don't put any graphs on the test. But what that means is, since there's no overlap between the quiz material and the test material, your test will not replace your quiz. But I do it to help you to shorten the test, because otherwise the test would be like a million questions long. Do you get what I'm saying? So it always helps everybody. I do it for you, but just as a heads up, that's how I run this unit because it's really, really long. All right, let's go ahead and make our table. We're only going to be able to get 1 point. Our asymptote was at -4, so we probably want to pick something near -4. So what do you think? Well, I want it to be near -4. -3 is a good choice. Let's see if that works out. Well, let's see. I say let's just pick a number and see what we get. Like, let's just try. That's my philosophy. Let's just give it a shot. All right. My asymptote was at -4, so I'm going to try -3. Ready? And you guys need to focus. -3 plus 4 is 1. ln of 1. So this whole thing, you can't negative a 0, so it just goes to 0. -2 is -2. So -3, -2 is 1 point that you're going to get. And then I get that here's where I get the kickback. Ms. Cole, what on earth is going on? I have an invisible line and only 1 point. The graph either goes up or down. You got a 50-50 shot. This one's going to go down. Why is that? There is a negative. So it will look exactly like this, except upside down. You reflected it. Okay? We reflected it. It's upside down. Now, again, if you mess that up, you get credit for all this as long as it matches your graph. Domain would be -4 onwards. So -4 to infinity. I'm going to come back to the intercepts because those are hard. We're going to have to work for those. Okay, so good, it's decreasing, so copy over your domain for decreasing. Increasing will be none. Again, I'm going to come back to this. I always save the hardest thing for last. And then your end behavior. It will not be limit x goes to -infinity. It will be limit x goes to -4 with a little plus, but I'm going to show you what that would look like. Hold on, because it's from the right side. F of x, and then you're going to have limit x goes to +infinity of the function. It's your left side and your right side. It's just your left side isn't -infinity because there's no graph over here. And again, one of these should go up and one of them should go down. Where does our left arrow point? Up. And then the right arrow is down. I'm waiting. We can let it sink in for a second. Up, so +infinity, and then this one's going down, so -infinity. One will go up and one will go down. All right, I'm gonna do the y-intercept first because it's easier. Again, I always try to start with easy stuff and save the hardest stuff for last, but I need for you to look because this isn't necessarily difficult, but it's gonna look funny to you because we don't have a calculator. So you're gonna plug in 0, ready? 0 plus 4 is 4. And so what you get is negative ln of 4 minus 2. Whatever that is, I don't know. That's a number. If I were to type it in a calculator, it would be some kind of decimal, but I don't know what it is. I would assume it'd be like negative something or other. Do you see where this is like about hitting the y-axis? Negative something or other is what that's going to come out to. All right, your x-intercept is going to be something comma 0. We're going to have to actually work this out off to the side. You've got a little bit of space here. Just use that. You're going to take the whole equation. So like, hey, Miss Cole, it looks like you just copied it. Sure did. And set it equal to 0. And we're going to have to do a few steps of work. You know, sometimes life is like that. You'll be okay. So plus 2. And then I'd like for you to watch me do this next step. Don't look away or you're going to miss it. The easiest way to move over a negative sign is like this. Ready? I'm going to erase it and just put it over there. That's the easiest way to do that. You're just dividing by a negative, so just move it to the other side. I'm stuck. Are you stuck? You're going to get stuck. When you get stuck, what is the question? Megan Trainor, what is the base? Well, for ln, it is e. So it's e to the negative 2 equals x plus 4. And you got one more step, which is subtract the 4. So hold on, I'm almost done, and then I will answer that question. Let me just finish this thought. So it'll be e to the negative 2 minus 4. Whatever that is, I don't know what 2.7 to the power negative 2 minus 4 is without a calculator, but it is something. It's some kind of decimal. All right, go ahead. Yeah, I always start with the base, and then I do the exponent. So this is, the base is e, because it's ln, to the power of negative 2 equals whatever stuff that's left. Exponential form. Yeah, if you're changing the form, go ahead. Can you guys all listen to the questions and answers? Number 1, because it's respectful, and number 2, because it might help you. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah, so y-intercept is going to be 0 something. You literally just take 0 and plug it in. So 0 plus 4 is 4. And then since I don't have a calculator, I don't know what any of that is. So I just wrote negative ln 4 minus 2. Like, you just recopy it. All right, we're going to do it again. If you were like, hey, didn't quite get that, we're going to do one more. Your range is everything. This. All right, so what else is the other like automatic thing? All right, yeah. So did it shift left or right? It did not. This negative is a reflection. We don't have like a -3 or something in there. It didn't move left or right. So it's still going to be centered at 0, which is kind of hard to see because it's on the axis. And then horizontal is none. Thank you for getting quiet. Let's focus and get through this last one. Make sure everybody understands what's going on. Everybody's happy when they understand what's going on and frustrated when they don't, right? So like, let's focus and then you all know what's going on. All right, so let's make a little table. We're only going to be able to do one number, and this one is a little tricky, but I'm going to let you sit there and think about it. I want to see if anyone can come up with something. The only number that'll work. Go ahead. It actually is -1 because, nice job. If you were to plug it, no, come with me on this so I can explain it. Listen, if you were to plug in 1, when you plug in 1, this would become -1. And you can't log a negative number. However, if you plug in -1, what happens? It becomes +1. ln of 1 is 0 plus 1 is 1. So now look, I love when you do that. So then look, that point is now over here. Do you remember me saying I would show you what that looks like? Do you see how oh my gosh, the point's on the other side. Why is it over there? Because of the reflection. So look, can you guys, I need everyone to focus. don't write this. Instead of looking like this, which is the typical way, it's going to look like this. Do you see how it's just reflected like a mirror on the other side? And then you're going to use that picture to answer all the questions. Good. I need the domain before I can do decreasing though, so let's just hold on a second. Good. You see how there's a negative infinity in there now? It's going to change our end behavior. So you have to listen to me. Don't work ahead. Stay with me. It's last question. So just hold on. So whoever said it is decreasing. So that is your decreasing. Increasing is none. So this is going down left to right. I need for you to stop talking though, please. Thank you. I will come back to the x-intercept. Do you see how there is one, but it's going to be some kind of decimal? I can answer this though, because it's none. There's an asymptote on the y-axis. And now your end behavior, look, I can go to negative infinity. Do you see this? Limit x goes to negative infinity of the function. I can go that way now. I can't go to positive infinity because it's fenced in. Okay, good. So hold on a second. It's going to be limit x goes to 0, but this time it's from the left, the negative side. So you're going to put a little negative in there to show that it's 0 from the left. That's why I said don't work ahead of me. I said it was going to be different this time. So can you guys stop talking and focus? I just hear the chitter chatter like it's behind my ears here. All right, so our left arrow goes where? Yep, infinity. Right arrow. Yep, one goes up, one goes down. Now let's go back and get our x-intercept. You've got some space over here off to the side. Use it. You're going to copy this equation and set it equal to 0. And then you're going to have to do some work. Clutches pearls. Okay. What's your first step? Yeah, -1. Can you stop giggling and focus for me for like 30 more seconds? I'm stuck. What is the base? E to the power -1 equals negative x. I don't know what you're laughing about because I know this isn't funny. Now watch, if you look away, you're going to miss it. The easiest way to bring that negative over is to erase it and slap it out front. Now this is some decimal. I don't know. It's 2.7 to the power -1 and then times a -1. But you can just leave it like that and it'll look like that.